Well, hello! We missed having you in class last week. We are working pretty hard at a new essay type that you're probably not very familiar with, the judicial essay. And so I wanted to take some time to explain it because I don't think it's something that you're super familiar with, okay? If you remember, we're talking about the judicial essay. And a judicial essay has three parts: and-sit, quid-sit, and quail-sit. And today I just want to talk to you about and-sit. You know that a judicial essay takes an event in time and then a person is looking back and evaluating that event. And there's two reasons why they do that. One is to decide if it was right or wrong, and then the other is to decide what action needs to be taken to restore justice. Okay? So here we have a judicial essay and we want to talk about and-sit. And these three parts help to establish the complete circumstances surrounding a situation. In a normal essay, we have a thesis, right? In a deliberative essay, we have a proposal because we're trying to propose that they take a future action. In a comparative essay, we try to value one thing above another. And in a judicial essay, what we have instead of a thesis is a charge. Okay? So in this case, our charge is going to be that, let's say Fanny, should not have gone to the opera. Okay? So we have and-sit. This could be a whole essay, or it could just be a part of an essay. And I don't think it really matters which, as long as you see how the different parts relate together. But the first thing that we have to consider is the evidence. So what evidence do we have that Fanny went to the opera? Well, we have her opera ticket, right? So we've got a document. We have Polly's journal where she wrote about going to the opera. That would be a document too, or maybe an object. We have those flowers that were sent later. The other thing that can act as evidence is testimony of witnesses. And there are two kinds of witnesses. There are eyewitnesses, which are people who were there and who saw what happened and will tell you about it. And then there is another kind of witness called an expert witness. That doesn't really fit in very well with this particular charge, that Fanny should not have gone to the opera. But what if there's the story of Joseph assaulting Potiphar's wife in the Bible. And so if that was the situation that we were considering here, you might bring in an expert witness who knew about textiles or linens and how much force it took for them to tear. Or maybe someone who could say as an expert witness, so why was his garment ripped instead of her garment, right? So this has to do with evidence. And the other thing that you need to include here is the how. Oh, my pen is betraying me. Here we go. The how, the when, the where, and by whom gathered. And by this we mean the evidence, right? So this whole first section is just about the proof. Because obviously, if we're going to charge Fanny that she should not have gone to the opera, first we need to establish that she went. If she didn't even go to the opera, the whole point is mute. So this is very important. The next section, okay, I'm gonna stop and erase so I have room to write, okay? Okay, the next part of and-sit after evidence comes reliability. Okay, so we have this evidence. How reliable is it? Could you take an opera ticket and slip it into someone's purse even though they hadn't gone to the opera? Sure you could. Could you write a journal entry after the fact and have it be more of a creative writing assignment than a true record of events? Sure you could. Once you have evidence, you have to assess the reliability of the evidence. And so one of the questions you ask is the evidence accurate? For example, if she had an opera ticket in her purse and it was dated from 3 years ago, the evidence isn't accurate, right? The next question you'll ask is the evidence relevant? If they brought in for the evidence a testimony that Fanny's friend Polly had taught many, many piano lessons the week before, is that really relevant to whether or not Fanny should have gone to the opera? It might not be. Or it might be. It kind of depends which sides of the charge that you take, how you decide to explain or what you think is important to defend or make connections with about this. But part of reliability is it relevant? Then you ask, is it consequential or is it circumstantial? So consequential has a really clear cause and effect. Someone grabbed the fabric, it ripped, right? But circumstantial just suggests but does not prove. So if you heard a scream from Potiphar's wife and Joseph came running out of the house and people saw him run out of the house, it might suggest that he had done something he shouldn't have done, but it doesn't actually prove it. It doesn't prove cause and effect. That's circumstantial evidence. Whereas consequential has a really clear cause and effect. You know, he hit this person and that person hit him back, or they dropped the match and the place started on fire. There's a clear cause and effect there. Okay. Yeah, that's reliability. Okay? Next comes credibility. And finally, the last section under and sit has to do with credibility. The way I think of this is that reliability has a little more to do with the physical evidence and how it was gathered, by whom it was gathered. Whereas the credibility has to do with the testimony of either the eyewitnesses or the expert witnesses. And so the question that you need to ask about that is, are those witnesses, are they prejudiced? So if I'm getting testimony from Polly about Fanny going to the opera and how she behaved, I could argue that Polly's Fanny's friend and doesn't want her to get in trouble. She's a biased witness. I can't trust her testimony. On the other hand, I could say Polly has a reputation as this really honest, wholesome girl who always tries to do what's right, and so her testimony isn't prejudiced and it can be accepted. But it is important for me to think about it. She just because she saw it doesn't mean she's going to tell the truth about what she saw, right? So we have to figure out if she was prejudiced. The other thing we could say is she reliable? Which is a little bit similar. But if Polly told a different story last week than what she's telling today, you might question her reliability, and you would be right to do so. You can also ask, is she competent? To me, this has more to do, well, competent could just mean like she's not senile or she's not a little child who doesn't know what she's talking about. But competent could also have to do with the expert witness. Are they good at their job? Are they accurate in their calculations? If someone went to if you had an expert witness and they went to MIT, that might carry a little more weight with you than someone who maybe went to a smaller, lesser known school in terms of competence, right? And then the final one is, are they consistent? So there you have it. When you're trying to decide about the justice or injustice of a situation, these are the things that we consider: evidence, both physical and testimony, reliability of the evidence and how it was gathered, and the credibility of both kinds of witnesses. And you can see why this would be really important in laying the groundwork for evaluating or making decisions about a past action. That's and sit.